All right, welcome back, Jeepers. We are in episode 12, our last and final episode of our Jeep 4.0 bolt-on performance series, at least on the dyno anyway. Today's episode, we are going to go ahead and install a return style fuel system, and this is going to allow us to get cooler fuel from back there at the tank all the way up to the front, and then basically cycle the hot fuel back. And this is really only relevant to the vehicles that have a returnless fuel system. The Wrangler is one. I'm not sure about the XJ. I think some of them do, some of them don't. But yeah, on the Wrangler for sure, hot fuel in the front, no good. This system is going to allow us to hopefully get that hot fuel back and cool it back in the tank, dilute it with the rest of the fuel, and we'll see if that gets us any power today. Let's go ahead and start putting on our fuel system. All right, I want to take a couple quick seconds to mention today's video sponsor, TexasJeepProducts.com. They have a wide selection of Jeep 4.0 Wrangler performance parts. If you're into that sort of thing, go check out the website, TexasJeepProducts.com. And now let's get back to the video. Let me show you this regulator real quick. So the factory regulator, this guy, you take this C-clip off the top here, and then it just basically pulls out of there. This is what goes in. It's the billet aluminum regulator. It's got a Bosch regulator built into the back of it that can be run static, or you can also run a boost reference regulator or a boost reference hose to it and use it as a one-to-one regulator. And all this does is basically just plugs right in, and you push it in, and we put that clip back on, and that's it. And then we're gonna hook our feed line up to this, and then we'll come back with our return line back into this fitting here, and it all happens inside the tank here. The only thing I'm gonna do, and I recommend on these, is to run a hose, just a little vacuum hose along with this, maybe up here by the fuel filler, and maybe coil it a couple times just so that you know, nothing gets in here, dust and stuff. You know, if you're going to leave it open to atmosphere, if you're going to run it up to the engine and hook it up to boost reference, that's really not a concern. But yeah, just pushes in like that. We put our clip back on and we're ready to run our lines. Okay, so that's how I have it all plumbed up. I've got my factory feed coming over here. This return line that I'm going to run to the front from the rail goes into my return. Here's my little vacuum hose. I've got that routed all the way up and over there. And then everything's all nice and tucked. And I'll go ahead and put this up in there, and then I'll run the line and put the rail on. All right, so you saw what we did back there by the tank for the line. Up in the front, we installed our fuel rail. That's the Texas Jeep Products billet aluminum fuel rail. And I just hooked that into the factory system using a quick connection and a 120-degree fitting there. And then out of the back, we just did a 90 down to our rubber line that we ran all the way to the back. It's pretty simple, and yeah, I mean, it's not cold, but it's not hot either. So let's see if that makes a difference. And we'll go ahead, get this thing warmed up and get it ready for run number one. All right, we got this thing warmed up and we're ready for run number one. Got our dyno out there, HP tuners is logging. Let's see if this gets us any more power. All right, here we go. Let's go take a look at the numbers. All right, looks like the numbers are in. We did 184.3, that's over 180.5, and 209 torque over 205. And it looks like pretty good gains all the way across. You know, there's 4 there. It's about 5 there. 6, oh wait, 167 to 171. A little less on the top. That's like 3 up there. So it actually picked up a little bit more in the meat, and at the top a little bit less. And I'm wondering if that's because at the top maybe the air is moving a little bit faster, and we're not able to, you know, really take advantage of the cooling from the fuel. But yeah, there's you know, around about 4 horsepower there, and about 4 foot-pounds of torque. So not a bad gain. That puts us up to 184 and 209. But I think I'm not entirely happy. My goal for this whole thing was 200 horsepower. We're not there yet. We're 15-ish off that number. And this is our last dyno session. As you know, if you watched the last video, this thing's going away starting tomorrow. They're gonna start taking this deck down. We're gonna start taking all this stuff off, and it's gonna go to its new forever home, or its new temporary forever home. And so kind of our last opportunity today to see what we can squeeze out of this thing. I think I'm gonna do some extreme, I'm gonna take some extreme measures to see if we can push this thing up. You know, maybe another 10 horsepower. I don't know. I'd like 15. I just don't know if there's 15 to be had in the few things that we got left. But let me tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go a little extreme here. I'm gonna pull the downpipe off, open header, baby. Then we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pull the air intake completely off. We're gonna leave the hood open. We're gonna let it cool off. I'm taking the cooling fan off. I'm gonna air up these back tires. I put like 50 pounds of pressure in them, get rid of our rolling resistance. Gonna do all the things, and may kind of do it in a couple stages here. I think we can do about 3 or 4 more dyno pulls. So I think the first thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and I'm gonna take the header off. We'll do a pull, and you know, then we'll take like the intake off, and we'll do the fan and some things. We'll do it kind of in some stages just so we kind of see what everything does. I know there was some comments about, hey, maybe we should take the cat off and try it without the cat. Well, this will be kind of like that. You know, we're gonna run open header. So if there was any restriction in the cat or in the rest of the exhaust, that should kind of ferret that out. And then the intake system, we're gonna get rid of that, run with the hood open, we'll let it cool off. I'm hoping that maybe we got 15. I want to see this thing bust 200. I want so bad to see this thing bust 200. So let's go ahead, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull that downpipe off, and we'll get this thing set up and we'll do another run. Okay, just something else real quick here. If you've been hearing these kind of jet engine sounds in the background in the last couple videos, it's actually the lathe running the Texas Jeep Products washers, cone washers, and that's what the lathe's doing, and it makes kind of a ruckus in the background. It sort of sounds like a jet engine or whatnot, and we're pushing a whole stick of chromoly. I got a whole new run of washers from, or not washers, studs and nuts from ARP. It just got a shipment in, so we're making these washers. Not really much to be seen. That's the problem with the lathe is, man, there's just not, it's not much to really see, but trust me, it makes a bunch of noises, and then these washers come out the bottom. So if you're wondering what all that noise was, this is it. All right, so I went ahead and disconnected the exhaust. I also pumped our tires up to 50 PSI. I left the header hooked up because the upstream O2 is on the downpipe, so I went ahead and just disconnected it right in front of the cat. And I got her on the dyno here. I'm not gonna let it warm up at all. Just gonna key this thing on, and we'll go ahead and do our run. Hopefully it doesn't sound like a stock car and too loud. Yeah, it kind of sounds like a stock car. Probably gonna piss off the neighbors. All right, dyno set up. Let's go ahead and do a pull. Let's check out and see what we got. All right, look at that, 191 and 213 torque. We're only 9 numbers off our 200 goal. 9 numbers. So if I pull the intake snorkel off and pull the fan off, does it have 9 numbers in it? I don't know. Let's give it a try and see what happens. All right, what's done is done. Everything that we're gonna do to this thing has been done. We're gonna do one more pull. If it comes out clean, we're gonna call it. I went ahead, I pulled the intake off, just wide open throttle body with the hood open, and I'll show you later. Wide open throttle body with the hood open, and I went ahead and I did take the cooling fan off. We're only gonna get one shot at this with the cooling fan off. Downpipe is still off. We did our return fuel system. That was good for about 4 horsepower. Taking the cat off, the cat back, the cat and the cat back, not just the cat, but the cat and the cat back was good for, was it 8 or 9, something like that. I'm really hoping we bust 200. Something tells me we're gonna come up just short, 197 to 199, and I'm gonna be all disappointed, but I feel like that's still, we made some great improvements here. So let's go ahead, without further ado, let's go ahead and fire it up and do this run. We were so close. 194. 194. Just short. About 5 short. Let me shut this thing off quick. A, it's hard to hear, and B, we don't have a cooling fan. Well, that's it. 194.9, so 195 roughly, 212 foot-pounds. That's where it's gonna stop. I think if we would have put just a skosh bigger cam in here, I'm sort of regretting our cam choice. I'll go ahead and put that run back up. And then I want to put one of our stock runs back up here. Oh man, it's been a long road. All right, there we go. Stock versus where we're at. 125 on the stock, 158 torque. We're at 194 and 212. Granted, that last 10 or 15 horsepower is cheated a little bit. You're not going to run on the street with an open downpipe. And you got to run an air filter, at least you're supposed to. You should. It's a good idea. So that's it, and I think that's where we're going to wrap this up. I might do one more quick video just detailing I'm gonna go through and try and make a spreadsheet and some things on each run and what we gained and some of that stuff. But yeah, this is that's where we're gonna stop it, and we'll go through and we'll compare some of this stuff and look at this in a little bit greater detail. But yeah, little bit bittersweet and somewhat disappointing, I guess. I really thought that we could probably bust 200. We're 5 off. If we did a couple little things, we might be able to get it there, but honestly, we'd probably be chasing onesie twosies at this point, unless we went and started doing some other kind of major things. One thing that was pointed out, the accessories, we could get rid of the alternator and the power steering, but once again, you can't really drive on the street like that. You can't drive it off-road like that. You gotta have some of that stuff in there. I understand there's a few things we could do. One of the big ones that, you know, would be really interesting to do for somebody sometime would be a manual swap. You know, we're running the old 3-speed auto in here. I know that thing's soaking up a bunch of power. I've done dynos on other ones of these, and they're usually 150 to 160. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. They're usually about 150 stock to the tire on this dyno, and we started at 125. So, I mean, I know the motor was a little tired, but I think also a lot of that's that automatic transmission is eating up a bunch of that power. A manual swap, we probably would have already been at 200 and maybe more. So I don't feel quite so bad, but I guess conclusion-wise, yeah, I mean, bolt-ons so far, I mean, the returnless fuel system is good for 4 or 5 horsepower, and the other things we did, like I said, not super like practical, but you know, fun for testing. And yeah, I think overall it's a pretty encouraging day. We got very, very close to our goals, so I'm happy. And we're not gonna stop here. We're gonna make some more videos. We've got the Turbo LJ, we've got some other videos, some other Jeeps. We're gonna be doing some trips and some things. But the dyno stuff's probably gonna be done, at least for now. So yeah, thanks for watching.